Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV. Listen, got a lot of information to go over. We will be reviewing the truth about Jussie Smollett or Smollett. This is a review of the documentary that has just come out on Netflix. We're getting ready to review it. Y'all, it brought up some more interesting information. And I'm telling you, got my copyright information up. Take a few minutes to look at that. And then I got my views and opinions up. Going back to the copyright information. But listen, we're going to get into all of it right after this. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and do celebrity legal news. Also, join me for my pop culture chats. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. My Venmo and Cash App is below. Thank you so much, and let's get started. Listen, 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 listen. Let me make sure that everything is working okay because we're about to get into this. And baby, when I tell you this is a lot, this is a lot. Now, if you're not familiar with this case, back in 2020, what was it? Had to be like 2022. Jussie Smollett reported that he had been attacked, and I've got my notes from the documentary. I will tell you all this. I've got my notes from the documentary, but I have done a couple of videos in regards to this. But he was attacked, and this documentary went over a lot of different things. So it went over the attack. So let's go out. So and I don't know why I don't like I put the date. So it was back in 20 because it was during that polar vortex. And so the 911 call came into the police. It was his manager who called the police because apparently during that time, Jussie was filming on Empire. And, he was Jamal on Empire. And, you hear my friend. He reported that he had gone out about 2 o'clock in the morning. He had gone to Walgreens. He thought it was a 24-hour store. So he went to Walgreens. It was closed. So then he went across the street to the subway. They have video evidence showing that he did go across the street. He went to the subway. He reports that on his way back to his dwellings, that he heard some people behind him talking to him. Aren't you that, they use the F word to describe a gay man. Aren't you that person? And then they say, aren't you that person that's on Empire? And then they assaulted him. They hit him. They said that this was MAGA country, and they proceeded to whoop his tail. They put a noose around his neck. Jussie said that they beat him up. He got up. He went home. He came home. The noose was around his neck. All this other stuff. He called the police. At that time, you had like Rahm Emanuel, and at that time, Rahm Emanuel, he used to work under the Obamas. He became the mayor of Chicago. There was a lot of stuff going on in there with Chicago. They're going to talk about Laquan McDonald. They're going to talk about all of this stuff. So let's continue how they set all this up. He reported the information to the police. It got out into the news. So that put a fire under the police that they had to get out here and they had to report. They had to investigate this. So they sent the officers out to investigate. They pulled all the footage from where that happened. They reviewed camera footage and they saw two suspects. And the footage followed the suspects.
and because it said that the suspects went in a Uber ride, and then they transferred from the Uber ride into a taxi. And they said that they were dropped off. They followed the footage, and these two people were dropped off on the north side of Chicago. And they said that after a while, like all the ring cameras and all that other stuff, it stopped picking up, so they lost sight of them. They talked about Jussie. He had done that. He was on Empire. They said like 4 days after this whole incident happened, he went back to LA and he did a show at the Troubadour. The police, when they were doing this interview, they started to talk about the things that they saw that was odd. Number one, it was a polar vortex that night, so that was one of the coldest nights it could be. They're like, why would he be out during this polar vortex? They even went back to talking about the Subway sandwich, the bag, and all of that was in pristine condition, and that he still had the bag, or he had the wherewithal to pick up the bag, I guess, and to go. They talked about the noose video because again, the police had the body cam footage of him, uh, of Jussie at his apartment. He had the noose around his neck. They took the noose off. They took the noose off of his neck. He took the noose off. They thought it was odd. They thought it was like performative because the police chief was like, my folks are from the South and they're from Alabama, and there's just nobody that's going to just keep a noose around their neck. Let's see. They thought it was odd because because Jussie would not give them his phone to look through his phone. Uh, a journalist that they interviewed called and he said, now he quotes and he says that he called the police to get some more information, and he said that the police said that the case was a bunch of bullshit and that that information wasn't going to make the record. However, what made the record was Chicago PD is taking this case seriously, but they're skeptical. All of the above information was tweeted out by the reporters as suspicious. So they made sure that that suspicious content was tweeted out. Now by this time, he's Fox is wanting him to do interviews, a whole lot of other stuff's going on because Jussie doesn't know what the police know at this time. He doesn't know that they are looking at these two people that they picked up on the video. Now, according to Jussie, he says that he didn't give up his phone because he didn't want his drug usage to become public. Jussie stated that he did not want to have to explain all of his little proclivities, like why he's out at 2 a.m. And according to Jussie, he's someone who couldn't sleep, so he likes to walk at night, and he does walk at 2 a.m. The police find the rideshare information. They see the taxi and they do the rideshare information, and it comes back that the person who booked the rideshare was a dude named Ola Osendario, and he lived like a couple of blocks from where the last video camera picked him up. They reviewed his social media, and they found out that him and his brother worked on the Empire set. Uh, they said the night after the incident that the Osendario brothers flew to Nigeria because uh, they're sons of immigrants. Their parents are immigrants, and they are, I believe, they're immigrants as well. That's what they said. They said they were Nigerian Americans. They said that Jussie went on the Roberts show, and you remember that. He's the gay Tupac. While he was doing that interview, the Osendario brothers returned from Nigeria and the police picked them up. Both of the brothers refused to speak. They asked for their lawyer. The police called Jussie to the station. He showed pics of the brothers. Jussie said that he knew the brothers, but they weren't the people that did the thing because the persons that did this to him, as he saw through the baklava, I guess, whatever you call it, he saw the skin around their eyes was white. So What happened is that the police asked Jussie, they showed them pictures of somebody walking away or walking around or walking away from the scene. And Jussie looked at the people and said, okay, those are the, because he couldn't see the whites of their eyes. He couldn't see anything because everything was covered up. He inadvertently said that the Osundario brothers was the one that did it because, again, he was shown this video. He didn't realize at the time that they were showing him the Osundario brothers. So he unintentionally accused them. Once he accused them, things started rolling. Uh, the brothers got a lawyer. They said that they known Jussie for a year. Again, Jussie thought it was the white boys. It says 4 days before the attack, Jussie met with Bola and discussed how the Fox studio didn't take a letter serious. Now, this is the interview coming from Abel Osundario. He says that he knew Jussie. He was a trainer for Jussie. He says that Jussie called him and told him that he wanted to meet him on the low. He texted him. They get together. The Osundario brother, Abel Ola, basically said this. He said that Jussie told him that he received this letter in the mail and it was mailed to the Fox studio, and that he didn't feel like Fox studio took the letter and stuff seriously, and that he wanted them to take the letter seriously. So he hired him. He paid him $3,500 to beat him up, and that was going to make the case big. Now, this is what the Osundario brothers said. So the police had information that they felt like he wasn't telling the truth. The police wanted Jussie to turn him in. Jussie didn't understand why he had to turn himself in. He didn't understand that he was considered to be a suspect. He says he was confused. The police had accused him of making the same thing up. So they had a big press conference, and at that time, Police Chief Eddie Johnson came on and stated that, and I quote, Jussie took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. And they said he did it because he was dissatisfied with his salary. The police showed the police surveillance video showing the Osundario brothers buying rope and other types of stuff that was for the crime when the police turned on Jussie Smollett. So this time stamped, and I'm not going to show you the time stamps because, I'm not sure how Netflix wants you to be. Netflix is about their showing this information. Excuse me. Oh, baby. So they did a press conference. The police put out the surveillance, and now they went into this documentary. They talked about the police department, and they talked about the public's uh, perception of the Chicago Police Department and all of this. Now, during all of this time, there was a young man named Laquan McDonald, and Laquan McDonald had been pruned from the timeline by the police. The police had made the statements that, hey, he had, I think they said that he had interchanged in a shooting match with them. Then video came out to show that that's not what was happened, that a majority of the shots that this young man received, he was already down. They also talked about how the police went around to different businesses in the area and started deleting footage, but I can't remember whose footage that they looked at to show that the shots that were fired on this young man was done while he was down. Jussie stated that the text that he made to Abel, talking about "let me talk to you" on the down low, was about an herbal steroid that was illegal in the U.S. but could be retrieved from Nigeria to help him lose belly fat. And he said that he was going to be able to get a large quantity of it, and so he says that they were going to get that to him. So he paid them with a business check for services as a trainer. They said that's where the $3,500 check came from. Um, because of all of this information and the bad publicity, he was written out of the show Empire. So He had his day in court. He went to court. They found him guilty on about 5 charges, basically making up stuff, lying to the public, lying about an aggravated assault, lying about a hate crime, all of these different things. He had to pay the Chicago Police Department, or the city of the police of the city of Chicago, $100,000, and then he had, on top of that, he had 150 days in jail plus a $25 fine. Jussie said that he didn't do none of it. He says that if he's in jail, he's not suicidal and all this other stuff. He spent a total of about 6 days in the jailhouse because they were appealing his case. So here's the stuff. Now that's just the overview of what basically happened. The Osundario brothers, baby, they were meeting at Darlings. They were on different things talking about the case and all of these little different things. So then we get plot twists. Now, when I was covering this case, again, I didn't hear nothing about these little plot twists. So I want to go over these plot twists with you. But before I do that, please make sure you all hit the like button and make sure you subscribe. And so all of this happened. His day in court was in 2021. Here are some of the plot twists. We had independent witnesses that saw what Jussie saw. There was a security guard working at the Sheraton Grand Chicago. He says he does his normal patrols around that time. He said he saw a man with a baklava and identified him as white. He also said that he had kind of shined his flashlight in the man's face, and that's how he saw that he was white. There was a second witness that was walking her dog that was like a neighbor to Jussie, and she said that she saw a white man. His face was covered, but she knew that he was a white man. The thing that stunned her was the fact that in his jacket she saw rope, and she said that she was afraid. And so, and it was she said this was like a little closer to midnight. Let's see. Again, the jury took 2 days to reach a verdict. He was guilty on 5 counts: lying about a hate crime, lying about the battery, lying about the aggravated assault. He got 30 months of probation, 150 days in jail. He had to pay $100,000 back to the city of Chicago. He had a $25,000 fine, and after 6 days, he was released from the jail because his case was being appealed. And so the question was, why would somebody make up his own hate crime? Da 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 da. So then we've got a documentary producer from London. Her name is Abigail Carter. She was reporting on the case, and so she had a Zoom call with his brother and his sister. And having that Zoom call, she started to be compelled about, hey, this don't sound right. They seem very convinced that their brother didn't do this. And so she started investigating, and she found out a couple of things. Well, before she did that, well, no, she found out this couple of things. She said there was no proof connecting the Osundario brothers to the crime, and there was no forensic. One of the things that they talked about is that the rope that they found around his neck, that the Osundario brothers' DNA was not on that rope. It was the DNA of 2 separate other people, but it wasn't the DNA of the Osundario brothers. So there was no forensics connecting them with the case. Even though we see them buying stuff and doing all this other stuff, there is no forensic evidence connecting them to the case. So Abigail got in contact with Shelley Stanley, and she's a freelance journalist, and so she decided to investigate the case. She says that she reviewed the police investigation, and she said that the people who were doing the investigation, out of the 38 detectives that were assigned on this case, they all had a combined total of 563 misconduct allegations filed against them. And they range from sexual misconduct, shooting at people, selling drugs, etc. And they said out of all of those cases, They said there were 16 separate times where the city of Chicago was sued and but had to pay out a total of $5 million. So that was interesting. And again, you remember I talked about Laquan McDonald. Well, all of that was going on probably a couple of years and stuff like that before them. And so basically, the way Shelley put it is that the police department needed a win, and they were going to get this win regardless. And Jussie was the win that they said that they wanted. So let me continue. Uh, they said that the initial officer on the scene was accused of homophobic hate speech against another black man. So that was part of those 563 misconduct charges. They interviewed the two witnesses. The security guard came in for a lineup, and this was what was interesting to me. The security guard had told them he saw a white man. When he came in for the interview. They basically told him, they gave him a list of all these black people on the page. He says, I can't do a lineup because none of the people on here are white. I saw a white man. He said that the police told him, I understand that, but if they were black, pick out the people who you think they were. Pretend that they were light skinned. And he was like, oh, okay. He was a little perplexed because he said, well, it was almost like hypothetically, if you saw these people, which ones would you pick out? Odd. And so let me see what he said. Security guard stated that he picked the most light-skinned person in the group. And the security guard believes that the police wanted him to pick someone to fit the police narrative. He didn't pick the Osendario brothers. He didn't pick any of those, but he felt like they were just wanting him to pick a certain person. But he obviously didn't pick the person that they wanted him to pick. There was a video of of the account of what the security guard saw and what the security guard did. Because again, Shelley used the Freedom of Information Act to get this information. She says she got the information. She looked at the video. There was 10 seconds missing. So they see the people. It's 10 seconds missing. She says that they go through all the information. They follow these people who the security guard saw coming from that direction. They see the people, and they said that there was a point in time that the people walked past this camera that was filming in color, and say when they walked past that, there was two men. One man, they couldn't tell what he was, but another man walked by, and you could see that he's white. So if you were looking for that video in the documentary, it's at 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 40 some odd seconds into the documentary. And you can look at this. You'll look at this man. Now, appeared to me, he either looked like a very light-skinned black man, or he looked like a white man. That's what he looked like to me. Everything wasn't as clear. It was in color, but it wasn't clear. Let's see. So then Jussie's case went to the Illinois Supreme Court, and it was overturned because the prosecution had made a deal. It was basically double jeopardy. The prosecution had made a deal with him, and then to turn around and hire a special prosecutor that was sent him to court, they had already made a deal that if he forfeited his $10,000, that he wasn't going to be that was going to be the end of it. And that's what he did. But to get the special prosecutor, because Rahm Emanuel and the police chief felt like they were looking like idiots, was a whole nother situation. So let's continue. So then the question came up, if we have this information, if we have this video, what is going on with the Osendario brothers? Why are they saying this story? Why this stuff? They brought up some information about one of the Osendario brothers. One of the Ola was charged in 2011 of attempting pruning somebody from the timeline, but then it was pled down to aggravated assault. and that he was not allowed to possess any firearms. They said that there was a warrant issued to the home of the Osendario brothers. And in that home, there was a cache of firearms ranging from 9mm guns to assault rifles and all these kinds of stuff. Now he's not supposed to have it and not supposed to be be involved with any of those types of guns. So what they speculate, and I say that because this is what the journalists speculate, is that the police didn't believe Jussie. They had these two guys, so they concocted this story that these two guys beat him up. That is what they're saying. So the police denied all of that to the investigators. The Osendario brothers denied that, because the one thing that I guess for me I'm trying to figure out is, you see them buying stuff. They're going to a store and they're buying different things. So I don't know how all of that works in. However, the forensic evidence doesn't tie them to anything. They just say that they were there. They say that they did this couple of things that they did. So when they show, what was interesting, when they showed the people in the documentary from the police chief, now mind you, the police chief, 3 days before he was to retire, they fired him because they found that he was in his car drunk. And so, and then he lied about being drunk. He said he had a medical emergency, and they found out no, he was just drunk. So they fired him. Uh, what was it? The brothers did all the press conference at the thing. So basically, what they came across of all of this is there is some evidence to show that what Jussie said he saw or what happened to Jussie could be true. However, he has a lot of the information to contend with the Osendario brothers saying that they did do it. The reporters uncovered that the Osendario brothers would have said that they did it because they were not supposed to have any firearms on them. They had the firearms. Now, I couldn't figure out if they were born in the United States or if they were naturalized citizens or anything like that, or however was there, if they had an immigration status. I couldn't figure anything out. They didn't really talk about that because if deportation was in the mix or not, they didn't say anything about that. However, Jussie's his conviction was expunged, overturned, because, like I said, it had everything to do with double jeopardy. It didn't have anything to do with the case at the case at hand, as far as saying that uh, did he lie or didn't he lie. Jussie said he did not lie. He had no reason to lie. Don't know why the Osendario brothers, now they're coming out with a book, come up bigger than Jussie, a disturbing need for a modern day lynching. I don't know what that's about, but that's what they say the name of their book. Um, Here's what was interesting to me: all the players. You had Jussie, you had the police chief, you had Jussie look at the video. You remember I told you there was a color video of two people walking, and one person had like the mask or whatever he had, it was off. Uh, the police chief said that's a black guy. The officer who was initially doing the investigation said she saw a black guy. The Osendario brother says, "Oh, that's me." Now, mind you, the man that you see in this video, he is either white or a very fair-skinned black person. And the Osendario brothers are very dark-skinned black men. There's no way in the world that you could look at that video and say that those two people were that one person, because again, they say that they were a pair. That one person was one of the Osendario brothers because he was too fair skinned or white to be them. Uh, their attorney said it was a white guy. She said that it wasn't them. The the initial reporter on this case, he thought it was a white guy. So the only people who were saying that it was a black guy were the police and the Osendario. But anyway, I think that this documentary was a good documentary. I think that the people made a compelling case that Jussie could be telling the truth. We know that his record, as far as the law is concerned, that court hearing didn't happen. He wasn't convicted. Whatever happened there, it's a no show on that. But I think that they made a compelling case at the fact that they believe that the police department, the Chicago PD, is corrupt. We know that is the case, and that they made a compelling case that if this was going to be the case that they were going to have to improve their image, they did everything that they could to do that. However, there's some things that don't make any sense because even in this whole documentary, my question was, which way was everybody walking? Because it seems to me that there should have been, if the Osendario brothers passed this hotel, we should see them passing this hotel. If the white people pass this hotel, we should see that. If we saw those two people that were walking by and it's not looking like visually, it's not looking like the Osendario brothers, should we have seen the Osendario brothers walk by at a different point? Now they say it was them, but I'm sorry. Uh, I know the difference between darker skinned black folks and lighter skinned black folks. And there's no way in the world that you're going to convince me that that man that walked by was a darker skinned black person, possibly a fair skinned white person, a fair skinned black person, but he did appear, he gave the appearance of a white man or a fairer skinned black person. You're not going to convince me that he was a darker skinned man. So you go back and check that video and you give me your comments for yourself. All right, people. Good documentary. It gave a lot of different things. It gave you food for thought to figure out, hey, he could have been telling the truth about what happened, or he could not have been telling the truth. However, he is not guilty. His record has been, it was overturned. So he doesn't have a record on his case. He don't have a record or anything like that because he made that deal. But this is a very compelling. It's a very compelling case. It's a very compelling case. I personally, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you I don't know. From the information that I was given, and when I initially was reporting on this, it just wasn't looking good for Jussie. But now this information is like, yeah, some things are just making some sense, and some things are not making some sense. But the biggest thing that doesn't make any sense, well, the biggest thing that you have to contend with is the Osendario brothers saying that they beat him up because they go into detail in different interviews about what they have done. And then to juxtapose that with the two witnesses that I don't think that they were placed on the stand, if I can remember correctly. So then to juxtapose those two witnesses that saw something totally different, but because it didn't fit the narrative, they didn't run with it. Again, y'all go watch that documentary. It was saying Jussie is trying to rebuild his career. I think he's doing some directing and things like that. So hopefully, good luck for him. But uh, the truth about Jussie Smollett, we just reviewed it. Tell me what you think. If you watched it, tell me what you think and put it down in the comments below. All right, people, we do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, there's some compelling evidence to show that possibly Jussie was telling the truth all the long. Y'all go watch this documentary and let me know down in the comments. All right, people, tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, bye bye.